Hello, people. Thanks for joining me. I'm Scotty D, and this is another edition of Dingville, where I fix dings and things on guitars, usually accidents, misfortunate things like this. We fix them, and we make people happy. Well, luckily I've seen this type of thing before, and I know just what to do. So stick around. Zakk Wylde Epiphone. Pretty cool. Zakk Wylde played with Ozzy Osbourne starting back in, 1987, I want to say? 88? I think the first thing I'll do is just clean up the area, get this sticker residue off of here. Most of the time, adhesive residues cleans up real nice with denatured alcohol. This is an Epiphone, and they usually have a polyester or polyurethane finish on there, which denatured alcohol will not destroy. You better think twice about doing this on something like a Gibson or a Martin that has a lacquer finish on it, though. Denatured alcohol can dissolve the lacquer, and if you're rubbing it vigorously like this, you can kind of start removing parts of the lacquer, which would be bad. But this doesn't seem to be affected even one bit by the alcohol. Alcohol's a great solvent for this stuff. Our little Q-tip's not doing the job so great. I use so much alcohol here in my shop, I buy it by the gallon. I use it for shellac, spraying, cleaning, lots of stuff. See, that didn't damage the finish at all. It looks brand new. On a Gibson, there would be smudge marks all over here if you wiped it with denatured. If you go back 7 years to 2018, you see my very first YouTube video was on a similar Epiphone ding. That's what got me started in this whole YouTube thing, was a Epiphone guitar. This doesn't seem loose, like it's going to chip off or cause a problem. So I'm gonna... This is deep though. This is a deep crater. I'm gonna have to fill this in with... I'm gonna use epoxy putty. A lighter color than the mahogany color. That'll kind of give me a head start on this antique white color. I'll start by cutting off a slice of the epoxy putty. It's, as you can see here, it's got the hardener and the resin all rolled into one. Two different colors. So you make sure you get a equal amount of each. And so I just squeeze it up between my fingers, fold it a few times, and get it ready to squash down into the crater. Next, I'll get a little soapy water on my gloves and my razor blade, and I'll trim off the excess. Soapy water keeps the epoxy putty from sticking to the razor blade and my finger or my glove. After a few hours, I start sanding. Aggressively, too, at first. 220 grit. Of course, this scratches up all of the polyurethane. There's a really cracked area of the polyurethane that around the binding edge. I'll need to scrape that off. I'm going to start sanding with some 600 grit
Oscilex sandpaper. The new stuff from StewMac. It has a very shallow cut. Here's a look at some of the sanding blocks that you can purchase from them. Oscilex. Or like they say in Chicago, Ascilex. This is that area with the cracked polyester. Gotta remove it. There's just no other way. Just manually, mechanically removed. We'll fill it in with Glue Boost. It'll look like new. But it sure leaves a whole heck of a lot of level sanding for me to do. Oscilex. Getting it level is like 50% of the job. Here you can see how shallow the sanding scratches are, I hope. I try to get a close-up for you to see. I started sanding through some of the original factory color. That happens. These light colors are a challenge. I had to really go in there with my fingers and feel around for the low spots and high spots. Now I'll go outside the lines a little bit because I know I'm going to be wiping on a new finish. I'm going to be spraying on some new color. And I'll want to give the old clear coat a little tooth for the new color to grab onto. I cut down some of the little pads and the sheets to a more comfortable size for going around the binding edge. I like a size that I can hold between my finger and my thumb. Little naphtha to clean. And I'll start masking off the areas that I don't want the new paint to get onto. Lots of fun. I use the cling wrap so that I can see the original color. I can see through. Now, if I just masked it all up with an opaque color, I wouldn't be able to see what color I was shooting next to. Anyways, in theory, that's what I'm thinking. I want a see-through area. Although it does look a little darker. Just that little bit of cellophane changes the color to a slightly darker. Yeah, anytime you put a clear finish on top of a painted color, it will end up a little darker. Even the crystal clear stuff, the way the light comes through ends up looking darker. Now I like to take the Viva paper towels and spray into a frayed edge. That's what I'm hoping anyways. Kind of feather in the new paint. Probably be just easier to paint the whole damn back of the guitar body, but we're up for the challenge today. Denatured alcohol. I'll clean out my airbrush with a little bit of straight up denatured alcohol through my CO2 tank. I got a quick connect for the airbrush, and I've got 12 pounds per square inch. Also got my little exhaust fan going out into the attic that I'll shoot near. I'll clean out the gun with the denatured. Clean out the nozzle. Now I'll take a little fresh shellac. And I'll spray a little bit onto the project. Just give my color coats a little something to melt into. A little denatured alcohol to thin it out. So I'm working with a diluted shellac here. And I'm going to use this pigment for water-based finishes. It blends right into the shellac. Who would have known? But this is a really old bottle of pigment. StewMac doesn't even sell this color tone stuff anymore. They only sell the mix-all. I've had problems with the mix-all not drying properly. Probably because I mix in too much. But after a few squirts of this white shellac, I realized it was a little too translucent. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a can of the white vinyl sealer from Color Tone, and I'm going to transfer it into a glass, one of these little airbrush jars. I'm going to use this white to blend in a little yellow, and this will be my my top color coat. So I tried one drop of the yellow, the lemon yellow. And as I'm spraying it, I get around to spraying it and stuff, I decide it was a little too yellow. So I do end up wiping this all up clean and starting over. Oh, I hadn't even realized that I needed to spray a white coat first at this point. I started spraying over all that brown wood, and it just wasn't, it was just getting darker and darker. So I've got to spray some white, and that is right there is what you see as the vinyl sealer. So I had to pull off the mask over the binding and reinstall it. What you want to do, if you ever come across one of these projects where you have to spray a color up over a bound edge of a guitar like this, and you have to spray a white base coat of some sort, like I am here, you'll want to scrape the white a little short of where the color is going to go, so that the color overlaps the edge of the white. So I ended up going with a whole bunch of the white pigment with like 4 drops of vintage amber color tone liquid dye stain. It's a pretty good match. I wish I would have only done 3 drops of the vintage amber though, and maybe added a little bit of amber master tint to my Glue Boost clear top coat, if as needed, like salt to taste, they say. Hey Lola. That's Lola. Okay, so this is my do-over right here with the vintage amber. Now that I'm done spraying the color, I've got to clean up that edge. The edge that goes right next to the binding. Sometimes the tape, when you peel the tape off, it doesn't leave a perfect. It's got to be a little closer to perfect. Nothing's ever perfect on a touch-up job like this, but this is what I do. I just hold a number 11 X-Acto blade between my finger and thumb, and I use my middle finger as a guide on the side of the guitar for depth. My middle finger is kind of the depth stop. Now I'm going to use the Wipe On Poly as a barrier coat between the color and the Glue Boost top coat. The Glue Boost is a clear top coat, but I'm afraid that the harsh stuff in it, the sienna acrylic glue, is going to do something to my delicate color. And that's the reason I'm using the Wipe On Poly 3 coats as a barrier between the Glue Boost and the Antique White, which is shellac. And this is the Glue Dry Accelerator. I spray it on a paper towel over by the fan. That way I don't have to smell it. For the application, I will take wax on paper towel. This paper towel is a Bounty paper towel. Earlier I was using a Viva paper towel as a frayed edge. But for my Glue Boost clear top coat application, fill and finish ultra thin, I'll use these Bounty paper towels. 2 paper towels wrapped over a waxed paper towel. I put on the Glue Boost. I wipe. Then I throw out the 2 glue boosted paper towels and save the waxed one for the next coat. I'm going to use 10 coats of Glue Boost Fill and Finish Ultra Thin. Don't worry, it's ultra thin, like the name says. After the 10 coats, I'm back at it with the Oscilex 600 grit. You got to clean that stuff off constantly. Glue Boost and polyester finishes leave the finest powder on the paper. So after I sand with 600, I give it another 3 wipes. These 3 wipes go on much smoother than the first initial 10 wipes. Then, after those 3 wipes, I go at it with 1500 through 3000 Trizact. The 1500, 2000, and 2500 are Oscilex, or Bufflex they call it. Yeah, they call the higher grits Bufflex. You have to buy, you can buy it all from StewMac if you want to try this stuff. But notice I'm not wet sanding today. And there's the 4 grits of the Bufflex before I clean them off. I'll clean them off and reuse them on the next job. Here's the Trizact. I do wet sand with Trizact. I use Simple Green all-purpose cleaner. It's a soapy water. It's a detergent. I use it a lot of times on cleaning guitars. Every day I use it on various jobs. But I also like to use it for wet sanding. After the wet sanding, it leaves it kind of dull. And there you can see the witness lines and the color variations and all that good stuff. Now I'll go at it with the Meguiar's 105 Ultra Cut Compound, which is a mirror glaze Meguiar's, with my Random Orbit buffer or polisher. It gets it really shiny. Actually, the Glue Boost ends up being shinier than the polyester. So a little secret is that, you'll see it here in a second, is that I'll go over the polyester with some additional Meguiar's products. I'll go over it with the Ultimate Polish. And it's not, 100% as flat as the original factory. That factory finish, the polyester finish, they spray that stuff on there so thick, they can go at it with a big Random Orbit sander or maybe even a dual action sander and just get it smooth as a piece of glass at the factory, because I don't have the means of spraying that stuff here, so I can't replicate the polyester factory finish, and everybody knows that.
Well, I think Zakk would be proud. I mean, I know my customer should be happy, because after going to so many different Luths and having him say no, he was just glad to find someone finally that said, yes, I'll give it a try. Color match won't be perfect, but we'll do our best. And we aim for progress, not perfection. As long as it's smooth and he doesn't see that ugly dark spot anymore, he's happy. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging around. Catch you next time.